What is chaos? Let me tell you a little short story. Thomas Sankara was the president of Burkina Faso, an African nation, from 1983 to 1987. And he was well known as a transformative, a revolutionary. He cared about health care, public health for the people of Burkina Faso, about women's rights. And he was very famous for this quote. And he said, the only way that we can implement change effectively, is to embrace a little bit of madness. And that's what he did in this country. And the reason that he was president only from 83 to 87 is because the government actually took his life for that reason. And he had many other famous quotes along those same lines. But it's because change, and chaotic change, is hard to embrace, isn't it? Who wants to move towards a little bit of madness? Nobody in here would much raise their hands. A few hands going up, but it's an incredibly hard thing to do. And so what really is chaos? Well, chaos is not, in the way that I'm talking about today, it's not the kind of random happenings that cause you to not be able to function properly during the day. This kind of chaos is the chaos that we're actually seeing in society today. We're seeing layers and layers of systems building upon one another. Clowns, maybe. I don't know what's coming up next. And these just keep building and building and building and building upon one another. That's the kind of case we're looking at. Another way to really talk about it would be like the butterfly effect. You've all heard of that or seen the movie The Butterfly Effect. Not quite the same as the real butterfly effect. But if a butterfly flaps its wings on one side of the world, then there might be a hurricane on the other side of the world. Well, okay, maybe that's not really true. But it's a great metaphor. Because it's a metaphor for the fact that small things at the initial part are causing great outcomes to happen that don't look like they fit the small events that took place at the beginning. That's the kind of chaos that we're seeing in the world today. I figured if Ken Robinson could hold notes in his presentation this morning, maybe I don't really match up to him, but that I've got my notes too because I've got great quotes and I don't want to get them messed up. So there was a, well, let me go ahead and get to the next slide here. Yes. Post-normal times in a VUCA world. Sounds really weird, doesn't it? Sounds chaotic. Well, post-normal times basically is a phrase coined by a sociologist named Zia Sardar. And this is what he said. All that is normal has now evaporated, and we have entered post-normal times. The in-between period where old orthodoxies are dying, new ones have not yet emerged, and nothing really makes sense. That's where we are now. And that's the kind of chaos that we're talking about. And so what is VUCA? Well, I didn't really say this to you. I didn't really give Brad a chance to introduce me, but I work in business and social futures. And in our realm, VUCA stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And that is the kind of environment that we're living in now. That's the post-normal times. Somewhat of a grand theory. As a matter of fact, I would just go so far as to say I'm going to diss my talk here for just a minute by saying this is not nearly as complex as things really are. I'm simplifying it for you a good bit. Now, of course, you could all handle that, but you can't do chaos and complexity in 5 minutes. And this slide is a great picture that I found on the internet from a graphic artist called Colliding Universes. And I thought this would be a lot of fun. We'll see if it ties into the talk at all. But the physicist Michio Kaku has recently said that the universe, and others have said this as well, but the universe we used to think was expanding and slowing down. But in reality, the universe is expanding rapidly and speeding up. And we're looking in the future at a great freeze. And this is what Michio Kaku said, not me, that the way that we will survive is to jump universes from our universe into the mirror universe, send some humans out there to populate that universe, and that's the way that we're going to survive this great expanding cool down. Now, okay, maybe that may or may not be true. You need to expand your mind and maybe think that that could be a possibility. But the thing is, it's a great metaphor because universes are colliding for us now. And we do, as humans, have to jump from one universe of thinking, one cosmology, to another universe of thinking if we're going to survive these post-normal times, these chaotic times that we're in. So I want to talk to you today just briefly about 7 shifts that you can take to be creative in chaos. Because I didn't want to just tell you today that chaos is where we are. But here's the great news. Chaos is the birthplace of the greatest creativity you can possibly imagine. That's where creativity really comes from. When we're stagnant, when things aren't chaotic, we do the old orthodoxy. When there is change in chaos, we become the most creative of all. A lot of our speakers have really expressed that in different ways today. But that is where we live now, and we need to embrace the chaos in order to create our greatest creativity. The layers and layers of systems that you saw go by in the previous slide, all of the food systems, the social systems, the technology, the economy, politics, energy, food that we heard about today, Moore's Law, the increasing of technology, all of that has to be embraced for us to be the most creative that we can. If not, it overwhelms us, doesn't it? Many of us today feel overwhelmed. And so here's the first way that we can shift from a place of stagnation to embrace the chaos and be our most creative. We move from centralized to decentralized worlds. Before, it was all top-down power and everything set and central, and now we're realizing that things don't work that way. The economy doesn't work that way. Business doesn't work that way. Our lives don't work that way. We're living in decentralized worlds where we're coming together in open systems to be more collaborative, and this is where we are today, and this is what we must embrace. The second thing, alternatives. We're moving from the sure thing to alternatives. This is one of the things that we do in Futures is we help clients to think of many alternative futures and then embrace all the good things out of those alternative futures and implement them for the greatest strategy benefit possible. And so we have to open up our minds in a chaotic world to the alternatives, what could happen, positive, negative, risk, optimism, whatever the case may be. We need to move from thinking to meta-thinking. In other words, we just can't think linear. We have to think above what we were thinking before. We have to think between what we were thinking before. And the spaces that connect on all of the chaotic things that we deal with every day, the drivers. We have to move from mechanistic to organic. Brad, I'm going to steal something that you said this past week because I thought it was really great. He said, you know what? Those crazy humans, they just act human and I don't know what the problem is with that. You know, we built our businesses mechanical. We built our systems mechanical. We built the things that we live in mechanical, and yet we're organic beings, and we live organically. And so we have to realize in a chaotic world, organics are what we have to transition into, not mechanics. We have to move from disciplines to transdisciplinarity. It's one of my favorite, because in the old economy, this guy farmed, and this guy delivered the mail, and this person did this. But today we're realizing that in this chaos, the systems are crossing without us, whether we want to go there or not. And when they do, they're creating new things every day. Did you know that when you enter college today, after you get to your sophomore year, everything you learn in those first 2 years is already obsolete? That's an amazing statistic. And so we have to realize that the jobs of the next 5 years, next 7 years, next 10 years do not exist today. And so we have to embrace a transdisciplinary lifestyle. And we need to move from planning to adaptation. Before we could just plan our lives out and everything would be perfect. But now we need to learn that chaos causes elasticity, disruption, resilience, even over-sustainability. And we must learn to adapt if we're going to survive. And last of all, of course, near and dear to my heart, we must move from hindsight, which was the old way of doing things, to foresight. What is coming? What's on the horizon? What are the fuzzy signals? What do we see? What can we dig out of the hidden treasures of the future that we can adapt to now? And so I'm just going to leave you with this. I told you it's going to be relatively short, but I want to give you the good old prayer that everybody always quotes when they need wisdom. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to not simply relegate to the first part anything that I do not understand, that I am not acquainted with, or that quite frankly scares the living daylights out of me. Thank you so much.